Okay, so now we're doing our dipping of the eggs video, and I'm just going to show you the smaller eggs. My larger eggs are up here. I'll show you them a little later, but this is what we're trying to get at. We're trying to get this dull egg to look like this really nice, smooth, glossy egg. And what we do is we take our Minwax polyurethane clear gloss. I use a high gloss. It just says clear gloss and it's fast drying. It's pretty good. We open that up. I have actually a smaller can to do the smaller eggs since I'm going to be doing some of the larger eggs today. I'll just do them in the larger can. And what I do is I hold my thing like that, and I dip the eggs all the way in, and you see how that color just pops, you know, and they're going to drip, and I've got cardboard down there to hold the drips. And this is a good idea too. You see the color of that birch wood that's underneath there, and I told you by gluing it would keep it that same color. Well, I'm going to dip it all the way in, and you can see how dark it turned that birch, the gloss, how dark it turned it. If you don't, you know, fill that up with the Elmer's glue. And since that's going to be done with a felt, I'm going to be covering that part with felt. But see the front, the tops of this egg, and I'll just show you the first one since it's closer, I think. The top of this egg had Elmer's glue put on it, so it's staying the same color. But look what's happening at the bottom of the egg and how dark it's gotten. And that's what will happen if you don't do it that way. Now, my larger eggs are really up high this time, so it's hard for me to show you them. But I'll lift the camera up in a minute. But I'm dipping them, my larger eggs, in the glue, in the high gloss as well. And that's one of my new ones that I did. And let me show you one that I just dipped. And you can see how the color is already popping on that. This is what I wanted to show you. Let me switch to macro mode for a second. Is if you look at the bottom, you see how dark that birch got, and then how it stayed the regular color because we put the Elmer's glue on. The same thing with this one here. See the little one that I just dipped. You see how dark that birch wood will get if you don't put the Elmer's glue on and keep it. It'll keep it the actual color of the egg, like that. So that's why we don't, we do it that way. Let me see if I can position the camera up a little higher. If I can back this bad boy up a little bit, and I'll show you how I dip one of the larger eggs. I just got my little tripod today, so I'll show you how I do the larger eggs. And I just hold the can like so, and I dip. Now these eggs barely fit into this quart size jar, and I actually have to put them a little on their side, and then they're going to rub the can just a little bit as I bring them out. But if you can notice how that color pops on there, whatever you painted is just going to come alive with color. And this is only the first dipping. I do this 3 times on each egg, and then I just let them sit here and get dry. And as that as this drips and drips, and as it finally gets down to its last little drip, I'll show you what I do with that. Here's my newer one. And this is the exciting part for me because I get to see, you know, how the colors are going to pop on the newest eggs that I did too, and the new decorations that I do. And I really love this new one with the farm scene that's up by a few inches. I showed you on another video. And this is actually my latest one. It's upside down. I'll bring you to it. But I actually have you'll have to figure it out. But I actually put a waterfall in here, and I'll show it to you upright later. There's some rocks. There's some deer. Then I've got an actual house. Somebody's living in that house because they got their laundry hanging out in the back. And I've got different trees too. More tree looking trees rather than primitive looking trees. That's why it's called prim and proper, because it's a combination of both. Okay, so this has only got the first dipping on it, and I'm never happy with just one dipping, so it's going to be 3 dips. And so we're just going to keep going until we dip all of these eggs in there. Now let's see what you're looking at here. If I bring you back a little, bring you down a little. There's a lot of maneuvering here because I have a high. Maybe you can get a little bit of both in that way. And so then, as the drip starts getting down to the drippy part, where it's just going to be a few drips left, what I do is I take a piece of paper. What did I do with it here? And I'll just kind of sit here and watch them. And as it's getting down to that last drip, I'll just dab it like that with a piece of paper underneath. And then I'll wait and see if another drip comes, and I'll dab that with a piece of paper. Because we don't want any drips drying on the actual egg. So I dip them all, they're still wet. And so we can get rid of all of that discolored drippings that would stay on the eggs. And I'll show you that again. You see, as we're going here, we've got, excuse me, I'm left-handed, didn't have my glasses on. Okay, so we've got the eggs here, and see, as they're drying, they're getting that little drip at the bottom, and I just put a piece of paper under there and just tap it enough to get that drip off of there. This one here, just get that drip off of there. Just get that drip off of there. Same thing with my babies, my little ones here. And it's the same thing even with the wren eggs, when I do the wren eggs. And then we'll wait again. You see another drip is forming. Turn the paper if you have to. Get another drip off of there. Another drip off of there. And another drip off of there. And then basically, we just keep repeating this process. And we do to dip these eggs 3 times. And you see how nice and shiny they are already. And how much that color has popped compared to what it was before. It was, I'll show you my goose egg that still isn't, see, the goose egg still isn't dipped yet. And once it's dipped, you know, these eggs really come out pretty. You can see all that color really popping in the egg, and it really looks beautiful. Really coming out nice. I think this is the one I painted with you guys. Yep, there's a little guy. Remember we did the guy on the horse, the hay and all that, and I finished him up while we were when we were done videoing one night. And here's the one that I was showing you in between times, and this is my newest creation. Like I said, it's just got some sheep and animals, and then a nice waterfall, very peaceful looking scene. And then it's got a house where they've hung their laundry, and there's some ducks in the front yard. There's no people on this one at all. It's just a scene. Something completely different. Just one house. There's no church or anything. It's just picture a house living out in the woods near the river and the olden days, and they hung their clothes on the line. And that's all there is to that one. And then you get the little green ones that I was showing you in between times too that I have done. So that's how we dip the eggs. We just take this Minwax. This is the mess it makes. It's going to drip, so I put a piece of cardboard down. And this is my 77-cent or my 75-cent rack that I got, and I just hang my jute, and I've already screwed the screws into the bottom. You have to have wood screws. I actually use deck screws to do these. It's very difficult to get anything into this wood. The deck screws I find work the best. So I bought 2-inch deck screws that I actually use to drill into the bottom of the egg, and they'll only go in there about 1/4 inch, and that's it. That's as far as they'll go. This is very, very tough wood. It's harder than oak, if you ask me. So once I get the screws in there, then I hang them up by the jute. And I told you I always have some jute. I got a small thing of jute here, and I've got a larger thing of jute, and I've got a large Minwax. This is a quart that I'm using today because I'm doing my big eggs. And then I have some excess there. If this starts to run low, I put some more into there, from there into the quart. And I also have one that's a pint that I use for my little baby eggs. So that's what happens. That's all it is to the dipping of the eggs. So right now I'm going to do some more getting rid of the drips. And as those drips fade, then they get a second dipping, and then as those drips fade, they get their final dripping, and then I just take off the last few drips, and then usually I just let them sit in here overnight to dry, and that's that. So here you have it, the dipping of the eggs. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again on Prim and Proper Designs.